I deleted the like button with inspect element. From fireflies to bushes to brand new cows, oh my, the latest snapshot, it's a banger. There's a little bit that we missed, but perhaps more importantly, those new bushes, both of them, they're so weird. Howdy there, partner. Welcome to 25W05A Part 2. Technical changes. I was so allured by those beautiful juicy new cows that I completely forgot to talk all about this one right here, the item components. So this one right here is going to directly relate to that whole shield blocking, the changes that were made in 24W04H. If you're unsure of the context on it, check out that one next, but basically relating to shield blocking, or if you're fancy with data packs, sword blocking as well. Basically, you've got a brand new tag. Let's say you had it set up so you had sword blocking enabled, but you wanted the mace to say basically disable it, or maybe better put to bypass it. Well, then you could use this new bypass by tag. Again, you already know my tinfoil hat wearing friend. I think it's quite intriguing, all of the new customizability when it comes to blocking and combat and, you know, everything like that. I wonder what that means for the future. Now, hold on just a second, because I move around here inside of the desert and listen to the windy ambiance, and I think the devs might have accidentally leaked something, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that I never hear here, I mean, I've got wind, I've got dust sounds, I've got billowing, it's nice, but crickets, even in the dead of night, which, by the way, the sky totally looks different, right? Maybe I'm crazy, but crickets, I not once have heard a cricket, I think. 5 new features from our game drop are ready to go. Hear dune stir, wind howl, crickets chirp, with more desert sounds. Do what? This one might be crazy, sure. Maybe I'm just missing it. I don't think so, but either way, crickets chirp, is that coming to somewhere else? Like, can crickets even live inside of the desert in the Badlands? The Mushroom Island, come out wherever you are, Mooshrooms. We have an update to the Mooshroom inside of the snapshot, or at least like the texture with the Mooshroom. The size of the mushroom has been changed, and these mushrooms, they look ginormous, right? Like, that's totally way larger than they ever were before. Now, this change is going to apply to both the red Mooshroom, and the brown one as well. The interesting little problem that I've noticed here, we have, intriguingly, a cow variant right here inside of the snapshot, but the Mooshroom doesn't seem to use the new cow model. Like, the whole nose job bit, yeah, none of that actually exists here. Mooshroom changes combined with a lack of an updated model. Oh, I wonder. Combine it with the yellowy flowers, and this totally feels like it might be the perfect update to, you know, merge the cow with the flower, or maybe better yet, the Mooshroom with the flower. Totally weird that they updated this thing, but at the same time, didn't update it too. This is a quick and urgent reminder to tickle the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. All of these videos are handcrafted by yours truly, no less than 5 times a week. So the bushes. We'll go ahead and kick things off with this senior one right here. So my initial thing, right after the snapshot video dropped, was to jump into my snapshot flat world here and do a little bit of testing. What kind of blocks, like specifically, where will we be able to place the new Minecraft bush? And surprise, it's just like that leaf litter item from a couple of snapshots ago. If a block is sort of like, say, based in dirt, or maybe a little bit planty, like the pale moss right here, you could bet that you'll be able to place the bush on it. You could also place the bush on farmland, and it causes a strange floating situation. Meanwhile, on the other hand, I don't know if we actually really wanted to do this ever, but the bush, it cannot be placed on different other blocks, kind of like all of these ones right here. Interestingly, though, the dead bush can totally be placed on terracotta, and if I'm to believe this is the bush and this is the dead bush, I mean, look, you see what I'm getting at here. Isn't that a little bit of a consistency issue? And what about in the pot? Can I put a bush in a pot? No, but you can put a dead one in the pot. That's odd. I also have to say it, it might not be a popular take, but I think it's a little weird that we can just punch this thing and pick it up by our hand. After all, if we look at its counterpart, the dead bush, well, veterans will know exactly what's going to happen. If I hit this with my bare hand, it breaks apart into nothing, or occasionally, maybe if I'm like extra lucky here, I will get like a little bit of sticks. Kind of feels like that mechanic could be translated over with a new way to get leaf litter here, where if I break the bush without like actually using shears or something, I get leaf litter occasionally. Meanwhile, on the other hand, if I use a pair of shears, I will actually get the bush item. After all, I mean, I know this is a little bit different than grass here. Like, bush is, I guess, a bunch of grass really compacted down and turned into an entirely different plant. So, yeah, but, like, yeah, you know, you got to use the shears to pick up the grass. You got to use the shears to pick up the dead bush. So, maybe you got to use the shears to pick up the normal bush as well. Ooh, and another one I kind of forgot to test here, the sand. I think I know what's going to happen, but, yeah, same situation as the dead bush. It just doesn't work in the sand. Feels like placing this little guy on a block of sand is a great opportunity to actually be able to create renewable dead bushes. Like, imagine if this thing just died over time. The bush inside of the furnace here, will I be able to say, take my favorite block in the game, deep slate coal, fuel this thing, like smelt it with the bush? Well, no, I will not be able to do that. I'm using coal right now to make the coal. On to the flip side, though, if I had fuel and I tried to put a bush in the top, can I maybe say, like, create leaf litter or something? Dry it out even to make the dead bush? Well, also, no. Look, I'm not trying to be that guy and nitpick at all, but I really think there is a great opportunity here with this bush to be able to create this other bush somehow. Maybe a furnace? Water, how about it? Let's say I had a bunch of bushes inside of the water or on the ground right here, and then I flowed water at the bush. What happens? Well, they all break. How about placing a bush inside of flowing water? Well, instantaneously, it just basically pops back off of the ground and kind of breaks. If I put it inside of a water source, well, same exact thing happens. You can use it to delete water sources, but hey, there might be a better block for that. Lava, on the other hand, well, meet your weakness. The bush, a simple one, we'll delete it. Now, in the initial snapshot video, thank you for all the love on it, I mentioned that you will be able to find the bush in a lot of different biomes, but I never really, I didn't elaborate on that very much. So that was a list of every single biome you'll be able to find the bush naturally generating in. Another interesting thing with this bush here is it is definitely affected by gradients. So you go over to a biome where grass is like insanely green, the Mooshroom Island biome. Look at the vivacity of that bush. I don't even know if that's the right word, but wow, that's intense. Now, on the other hand, if you were to swing it on over to the taiga biome and place it down, well, you'll be able to see that now the plant is all taiga coated. Now, I don't have to show you too many more biomes. You kind of already get the point here, but maybe inside of the savanna, go ahead and place that down, and now it's all looking like a savanna plant. I love the fact here that this plant interacts with the biome gradient, so you kind of have, like, more than just one brand new bush plant, depending on your location and, I guess, really how you're going to use it. All right, look, one final place that I want to show you how it looks inside of the desert. So it's like a dried out plant. This is going to be great for like detailing and maybe like making custom builds inside of this update. I love this thing, but it should totally relate to dead bushes somehow, right? Ooh-wee. Now that bush is beautiful, but I think I know of a slightly more beautiful counterpart here. The Firefly bush. So we'll kick everything off the same that we did with that bush. I started by placing this on all of the blocks in the game that I could place it on, and surprise, surprise, it's dirty type blocks or maybe like a natural block, like let's say mud. Meanwhile, if I were to take this thing and try and plant it on any of these other blocks again, it doesn't work. It's kind of sad, but I guess it does make sense. Sand, I didn't test that one, I forgot. Yeah. That doesn't work either. Now, interestingly here, again, kind of like the bush, but maybe this time it makes a little bit more sense. You can actually break this thing with your bare fist and get the plant. I, however, this time around, don't necessarily think that that's a problem with this plant because, I don't know, at least to me, I'm sort of thinking of this thing almost like a sugarcane type plant or whatever. And even though it doesn't actually need to be right next to water, I don't know. This is kind of how I see it in my eyes. Swinging things back over to the furnace, completely forgot to show this one off. Can we smelt it? No, we cannot smelt it, and it cannot be fuel either. Dude, how could I? The composter for the classic Minecraft bush, or like the new classic, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you could definitely compost it. Ooh, but then big question about the Firefly bush. After all, it's like fireflies, right? Surely you would never throw that into a composter and just belittle it, right? Well, interestingly, you actually can, and I guess on one hand, it does make sense, it's just a plant, but on the other hand, like, huh, what about the fireflies that were inside of it? Maybe they should at least, like, new particle effect where they, like, shoot out and then just, like, dissipate or something? That could be really cool, attention to detail, right? Another thing you might be on the edge of your seat wondering about is bone meal. In relation to this Minecraft bush, if I bone meal it, take a look at that. The bush is going to grow more bushes next to itself, and it'll do this 4 times over until the bushes next door are full. It cannot grow a bush up or down or diagonally or anything like that. After that, I can go ahead and, you know, continue bone mealing these things, and I mean, it's interesting. This is like a different mechanic for Minecraft Java, where you like bone meal it and it actually spreads and places on a new block. That's pretty cool. On the other hand, for the Firefly bush, an interesting mechanic happens where it's kind of like a tall flower. Basically, if I bone meal this thing, it like pops up and pops up and pops up, but doesn't get planted. Really wonder why they opted to do it differently for both the new bushes here. Inside of the crafting table, if I throw this in it, nothing. If I throw the other one inside of it, maybe at the same time, nothing and nothing. Now, the Firefly bush, unlike the plain bush, is not affected by biome gradients, so big sad there. However, interesting thing to note here, I didn't mention in the snapshot video, but this thing is not to change to only the swamp. Instead, move around your world in this new update, and occasionally, from time to time, alongside rivers, you'll be able to find the Firefly bush generating. So, like, this is beautiful. Check this out. In World Generation over here, I've never been to this spot before. Didn't place these Firefly bushes down, but they kind of just cluster on the side of the river, and you can see even more over there. And there are a couple more. If you squint your eyes real close, like, so they're almost close. There's a couple more down there, too. One thing that feels like a little bit of an oversight here is the fact that it doesn't pop up inside of the mangrove swamp. This thing totally should grow there, right? A little bit of a wish here too, but I wish that we would be able to like grow this thing 2 blocks tall. Like this feels like a texture that could get like a little bit more tall if you like say bone meal at one time, it gets too tall, and yeah, that'd be great for variation. It wouldn't change anything about the particles though. But real quick here, before we talk about particles, let's talk about water. So what do you think will happen when I flow water on it? 3, 2, 1, take a guess. It breaks. And if I place it in water, just like with the other bush, it breaks instantaneously. You can use this thing to remove water sources again, but maybe there's a better way. I don't know. For lava, this move is all the same. I also thought it would be cool to try and contain lava with these bushes, but tragically, that ended really, really quick. Now, the particles. So, initially, admittedly, I actually misinterpreted this thing entirely. The changelog actually says the particles will play in the dark, not at nighttime. So, in the wide open sun, we get nothing. However, if I were to take this bush and move it to somewhere that's a little bit more dark, like let's say maybe that corner right there, I don't know if that's really gonna, oh yeah, it's gonna cut it. If you move it to somewhere that is a little bit more dark, even during the day, like the thick of the daytime even, the particles pop up. Now, this thing is clearly not very far tucked away from the sunlight, too. Like, it's just a little bit under a leaf, and it's actually dark enough to be able to create the particles. However, when I place it on the edge of the leaf, like right here, 1 block in, it doesn't seem like it's dark enough. But again, right here, 2 blocks in, and that's definitely more than enough to be able to start to create particles. The interesting thing, though, is if I flip it over to midnight here with these particles, it seems to create more particles, or maybe I just notice them easier. I'm not too sure, but it's interesting. So clearly, they work well on the surface, but how about a cave? I bet that looked good. And so that's exactly what I did, all the way down here in the darkest of caves. I go ahead and place this down on a block. Not only can you see the light level, a light level of 2 coming from this thing, but the particles all over the place. It almost feels like you could use this thing as like a, almost like a light detector or something like that. I guess not that I would need this plant to be able to tell me that, hey, yeah, it's dark down here, but yeah, I guess an interesting mechanic. Expanding on that a little bit here, if I were to place a torch next to this bush, though, get it nice and bright, do the particles go away? Well, it doesn't seem like it. The particles still persist, so this thing is detecting daylight, and to not just like a light source or anything like that. So now that we've learned that for sure it doesn't matter the time of day that you are using this plant at to create the particles, we could say put it inside of a box, maybe it's underground, and I mean check out the particles. They go straight through a block, it doesn't matter at all, and they're all over the place again, even though it's like not quite the middle of the day, but still very much daytime. One more trick right here, a flick of the wrist, and now it's nighttime inside of the world. Do the particles intensify? I'm not too sure. I really can't tell, so you be the judge of that. But now at nighttime, I can really see again the light level coming from that plant, which is again 2. Kind of wish the bush would give off a little bit more light, like even like a level of 6 or something, just dim light, because then you could cleverly use these plants to actually like light up your base. Now, of course, building with these plants is going to be really, really cool. Now, you can see with this plant, when I'm a ways away from it, the particles don't come out. That's just how Minecraft's rendering works. However, if I move close enough to it, particles will start to pop out, and even while I'm really far from this thing, you can see that the animated texture, I mean, like, well, yeah, clear as day. You can see that the texture is absolutely still animated, even when you're really far away. Now, just like how it works for those new leaves, the spore blossom, whatever, the more of these plants you get in a certain area, well, the more particle effects that will appear in the area around you, and you could use this to create a really, really magical effect. Keep in mind the whole time here that you can absolutely bury these plants. Like, it does not matter. Imagine setting up an area with, like, you want a forest with, like, cool particles. Well, you could hide these under the ground or maybe even just under trees occasionally, and yeah, you could get a bunch of cool particles. One of the most beautiful things that I've seen inside of this snapshot, though, is when you get, like, a lot of these plants. This is a 20 by 20 block square, and I feel like I'm in heaven. It's hard touching. This texture, it really also reminds me a lot of wheat, so I went ahead and kind of combined them together just in a quick sloppy design. But maybe if you wanted to make it like more interesting, make a really cool wheat field, you could like vary this stuff, kind of mix it in from time to time, and just like take a look at how much more interesting that looks. And I only did it twice. What do you think of Minecraft's new bushes and some of the things that I talked about in today's video? Do you agree? Your takes, thoughts, and opinions, throw them down below, and over on the subreddit, if you find anything cool with either the new snapshot, leaks, or whatever, then post it there. Thanks for watching. Next up, check out this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.